I typed in pica and a video from The Onion came up as a quick and simple drywall recipe that kids with pica will love. Every once in a while, The Onion hits a dinger.
You know how they choose their stories? I think I'm going off top, but they literally just go to a pitch room where there's a meeting with all the people, and they propose the titles, and then those titles get narrowed down. You know, they may have 40 titles, and then they go to 20, and then 10 will make that one. The numbers aren't important, and then the titles get selected to flush out an article and then a second draft, and that's how they do it. So those titles, like the hook, the premise is how they get chosen. Like they don't pitch full stories. Yeah, especially in the internet world, you know, where that clickbait title, that thing that makes you laugh before you even read the article, is essential.
It's my daily life.
Yeah,
I mean, essentially, when we get pitched stories for VinWiki stories, that's what it comes down to. Because if you can't come up with a clickbait title for whatever the material is, it generally won't get traction. It just seems to be the way that YouTube suggests videos. If it's title and thumbnail driven. If you can't come up with a good picture for the thumbnail and a good title, doesn't matter how great the story is. It's just they won't do well.
Have you been able to like tie into a community of peers and share tips and tricks? And you know, like some YouTubers do that. They form like I don't want to call it a coalition, but you know, they form a group and they say, this is what I figured out. What'd you figure out?
Yeah, we've got a group of probably 15, 16 of like the top automotive YouTubers, and we all talk pretty regularly about what works, what doesn't, and what we're seeing, because you have to. And so, like, you know, in the last 3 weeks, with the most recent algorithm change, we all saw a simultaneous reduction in viewership and increase in ad rate. So the end result from Google AdSense revenue is pretty much a wash, but we're all down on views. And it's just because the assumption is that it's kind of making way for upstart channels, because YouTube has always seemed like it encourages channels that encourage channels, because they want more people creating content. And so if you have more, channels like ours inspire other channels. Rob started a channel, other storytellers that are kind of frequent on our channel have started their own channels and done well. And so like Doug DeMuro motivates automotive reviews, car reviews. So people do that more often when they watch his content more often. And so it seems like there's a lot of new channels that are getting maybe irrational traction. They're just getting more than they might naturally get. And that's probably in the place of some of the views that we're not seeing.
That's interesting. Yeah, this show's been doing a little better, but it's hard to like understand the analytics of it. For example, we had like a Kyle's last show that did really well. We had a Kyle return that did really well. We had a guest who's huge, Mr. Beast, and that did really well. Yeah. So it's hard to, is it an algorithm change, or is it people who maybe just don't watch every show saying, I want to see this one? I don't know.
What percentage of your views are subscriber based?
I haven't looked. Because
it's like notifications and things like that mean almost nothing in the automotive world. So it's very, now, obviously a subscriber or a frequent viewer, even an occasional viewer, is more likely to be suggested a video that you make and release on a new basis. But you're right. You can't really deduce anything from the analytics. But it's very descriptive rather than prescriptive. Like, you're not going to make a decision based on the analytics. You're just going to be able to see if a decision that you made based on another, criteria happened to be successful.
Yeah,
well, YouTube glad it's doing well.
The subscribers have been fucked for a long time.
I think part of like the viewership is we finally got the title thing down. Where for the longest time we were putting titles in that get you like what is it, deprioritized or something?
Oh yeah.
There are words you can't say. So like instead of like we used to just put like it'd be like homeless guy comes all over random retard, and then it'd be like, oh no, that one got delisted, and so now we put like a fellow without a home is something on to
gets excited.
citizen.
I had that. I had one recently. I had this guy call me out of the blue or send me an Instagram message that resulted in an immediate phone call because it was a fascinating premise. And he said, "Do you want to know the real story behind your gray Lamborghini?" I said, "Well, of course I do." And he said, "Well, we need to talk." And so I talked to him, and essentially the title that resulted from this encounter was "An Iranian terrorist drug dealer crashed my Lamborghini."
Oh, Jesus.
And there is no way to get any form of that title monetized.
No.
It is impossible.
Did you get did you appeal it? Okay, carry on.
Oh yeah.
Well, we've been down this road before with
Yes.
my X-ray video.
Yeah, Rob sold an X-ray machine to some terrorists, and you can't get that monetized either. But
Go figure.
Go figure. So, the stories like you can talk about terrorism, but you can't make it a title, and you can't put drugs in the title because when Rob found a bunch of drugs in a car they were selling at CarMax, we got that demonetized as well. So as long as it's not in the title, it's okay. But essentially, this guy that called me had gotten some girl pregnant whose dad was a Canadian car dealer because he was a refugee from Iran for being a terrorist and blowing up bazaars. But the real reason he was a car dealer was that he was using these cars to store drugs in the frames and sell them across the Canadian-American border and move drugs into the U.S. And he was party to this as an employee of his eventual father-in-law, but essentially his baby mama's dad, employer. And so they wwere very good at to get these drugs in there, but they had this consignment Lamborghini that they needed out of the showroom. So they went out driving it drunk one night, and the dealer got so drunk that he let his 15-year-old daughter's boyfriend, baby daddy guy, drive. And so this 15-year-old kid crashed my car.
A 15-year-old baby daddy? That kid was more successful in high school than me.
Fucks.
Yeah.
Right. And so we ended up actually calling it, because one of the more famous stories on our channel is me buying a Lamborghini from the prostitute. And so we ended up calling it "A Previous Lamborghini Owner That Makes Kimmy Look Like a Nun." And that worked well, but it was very internal. Like you'd have to have seen the other video, which has many
inside joke.
Yeah. And so it didn't do as well as it would have otherwise, but it did okay.